The Bible reading is taken from John chapter 19, verses 28-29. Later, knowing that everything had now been finished, and so that scripture would be fulfilled, Jesus said, "I am thirsty." A jar of wine vinegar was there, so they soaked a sponge in it, put the sponge on a stalk of the hyssop plant, and lifted it up Jesus' lips. Here ends the lesson.
This is a very interesting batting order. And to come out right after P.S. finishes and me, I don't know. But he stole the thunder of what I wanted to share. Growing up, I had two things that I would hear from my parents. One thing my praying mother always said, you would never make it in life. And she being a school teacher, and when those words come, they're very powerful. My father, on the other hand, was being the youth worker and the evangelist, said, one day you'll make it, son. I'm praying for you. So this afternoon, it's kind of emotional. And I remember as a young lad, my father would take me wherever Uncle Sam would preach. And I said, one day if I grow up, which I have, I'd like to speak the way he does, the English, the language, and all that. But I want to tell you, as I was getting ready, I told my wife, I'm having butterflies to stand and speak before Uncle Sam. But more than all of that, my prayer is that just as he began, that each of us would also end well. This year I would be completing 22 years in ministry. Many times I've felt like throwing in the bath towel and said, I'm done. It's not worth. But when you see people, men of God, who are gone, who are here with us, that just tells us to press on. The story is said of a man who came to our pastor. His name is Lazar, no thing to our Lazar. And he said, Pastor, I need prayer. And he said, what would you need prayer for? He said, I'm a very, very impatient guy. I need patience. And the pastor took that and said, okay, I'll pray for you. And he started praying. I said, Lord, be with my brother. And just as he's asked, send him tribulation. And Lazar was very confused and perplexed. He couldn't even wait. He immediately tapped on pastor's shoulder and said, Pastor, I never said pray for tribulation. I said I need patience. And then Pastor Simeon said, no. Tribulation produces patience. That's what James says. Well, I know the feeling this afternoon. If there's one thing you all are asking is for patience. I think we are on time. I think we may even finish early. I don't know. The word that has been given is, I thirst. And we've had 3 wonderful days with Dr. Ho. If you hadn't come, it's your loss. Something like a revival. My father always said, he was a strong CSI man, but he always talked about the revival in the Methodist church. A man named Pastor Snake came and God met him. And something like that, the last 3 days, has been a blessing to me. And I pray that what I share would be a blessing to you. John chapter 19, verse 28. Jesus, seeing that everything had been completed, so that the scriptures' record might also be complete, then said, I am thirsty. 4 things stand up about this man Jesus. But did you know that on his road to Golgotha, he stumbled 3 times and he fell? There were probably, research scholars say, 5,480 wounds all over on Jesus' body. There were 150 deep wounds on his back alone. And when they put the thorn, not a word, 17 thorns pierced his head. Jesus shed 6.5 liters of blood. Why? Why would he do? Have you ever thought about it? 2,000 years later, we're sitting down here at Emmanuel Methodist because he loved you and he loved me. There's no other reason. That's his nature. 4 things stand out very quickly. The first one is, when you look at this "I thirst," you come to see the proof of Jesus' humanity. As a very humane person, very empathetic, he responded. I believe there's a big difference between sympathy and empathy. Many of us are sympathetic. We go to somebody, we go to a friend, we see someone in need and we say, "Brother, sister, I'll pray for you." But Jesus was not like that. He was very empathetic. He responded. You know, John chapter 11, verse 33 and 35 says, "When Jesus therefore saw her weeping, and the Jews also weeping, which came with her, he groaned in the spirit and was troubled. And Jesus wept." And this is talking about the death of Lazarus. John chapter 6, verse 5 says, "When Jesus looked out and saw that a large crowd had arrived, he said to his disciple, 'Philip, where can we buy bread to feed these people?'" The question this afternoon is, are we empathetic to people around us? We see a lot of people in need, people are dying. But many a times, including me, we have this mentality, this response of a Christian Taliban who comes out, who does the kind of attacks being judgmental and revert back into our cave. The challenge and the question this afternoon to us is, what would Jesus do? Not only you see Jesus a man of humanity, you see the fulfillment of prophecy taking place. Psalm 22:15 says, "My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue cleaveth to my jaws, and thou hast brought me into the dust of death." That was the prophecy. Psalm 69:21 goes this way, and I read it from the Message. "They put poison in my soup, vinegar in my drink." You know, nowhere else you see Jesus kind of responding, but when it came to "I thirst," that human 18 hours, can you imagine without a drop of water in your system? You just want to give up. The first one, we talk about Jesus' humanity. The second one, we talk about the fulfillment of prophecy that he had prophesied. The third one is what I want to dwell on very shortly today, is the thirst for God's presence. Psalm 63:1 says, "O God, you are my God. Earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh faints for you, as in a dry and weary land there is no water." Well, almost exactly a month ago today, something tragic happened in our office. And it was something that this whole month has been difficult. But God takes you through those kind of valley, through that kind of a journey. And asking the question, why? And these are some of the things that kept coming. He said, "Isaac, you become so busy, caught up in activity, caught up in doing things. You're doing good things, you're doing wonderful things, you're doing ministry, but you missed the boat, you missed me, and I'm missing you." The question this afternoon is, how much do we thirst for him? You're either hot or cold. I remember at a missions conference at my own school at Biola many years ago, George Werber spoke, and that night I gave my heart to the Lord. And the verse he said was from Revelation chapter 3, verse 16. "So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth." You know, we've always somehow thought God is a loving God. We only talk about God's love. We've not talked about or thought about his wrath. There are two sides to this loving God. There's a God who is loving, and there's a God who is a God of vengeance. And he's a loving God, but let me tell you, he will not settle for second place in our lives. You can't put him second. He has to be numero uno one. The quicker you come to terms with that, the quicker you come to realize it, life becomes easy. Isaiah 26:21 says, "For behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth shall also disclose her blood and shall no more cover her slain." How much are you thirsting for him? We can thirst for power. We can thirst for position. We can thirst for possessions. We can thirst for pleasures. We can thirst for all of this. And there was a man in the Bible named King Solomon. He had all of it. But in the end, what did he say? Meaningless, meaningless. Life is a meaningless pursuit. This afternoon, I want to tell you, he is a loving God. But would you ask for his presence, for his mercy, and for his grace? I want to tell you, church, somewhere along the way, I lost my first love. Sometimes Satan comes substituting the good and takes away the best. Let's not lose out on that. I became very sarcastic. For everything I was trying to fit God into my schedule, put God into a box, and trying, God, why don't you come along? God would send you an earthquake, a cyclone, a fire, whatever it means to get your attention. And then pride gets the better out of you. Someone has said pride is like bad breath. It's only the person who has doesn't know about it, but everyone else around you know you have it. Well, I'm through. I don't know when, but 2 or 3 years ago when I got done speaking, a wonderful person came and sang this song, Enna Kodumadayide. And I don't know whether it had to do with my message or whether it was just the song. So today I very specially asked a dear friend from the church a song that has really ministered to me at this time. And the words go like this, and I want you to listen. Don't miss out on what is being sung. I can walk down this dark and painful road. I can face every fear of the unknown. I can hear all God's children singing out, "We will not be overtaken." The same power that rose Jesus from the grave, the same power that commands the dead to awake, lives in us, lives in you, and lives in me. Isn't it a great God we serve? 3 things, and I'm done. His thirst was natural. Any human being would have suffered. And then it was unnatural. The creator of water, the one who could make water to flow from Rome, in asking for water from his creatures, he could provide living water, is now asking for H2O. And then it was supernatural to ask for water to fulfill scriptures. May God bless you.